Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another session of our Hytera use in presentations. Today is a very special day for us. It's one of the first sales-oriented presentations that we're doing as part of our new format. We have the VP of Sales, Mr. Tom Wineland, starting this session today. As always, this is a webinar, so all of your audio will be muted. You can post your questions in the control panel that's available to you, and we will answer the questions at the end of the session. If we do not get to your questions, we'll post the Q&A with the webinars on the dealer portal for your use later on. Mr. Tom, the floor is yours.
Okay, so welcome everybody. If you look here, this is going to be our agenda today, and all you salespeople look to the right. And if you have to leave the presentation at any time, you have full permission. So again, as Mornay mentioned, my name's Tom Wineland, VP of Sales. I've been with Hytera since the summer of 2016. I can't see the attendee list, but Mornay read off a few names, so I know a lot of you from years past. I've been in the industry longer than I'm going to admit to, and a lot of background with Kenwood and some of the other major suppliers, but I count myself very fortunate to be with a company like Hytera today. And I hope that going through this presentation, it'll help everybody to maybe come up with another little trick in your bag here and there. Not that this has all the answers, but some of these things have worked for me over the years, and so I just thought it'd be a great thing to share it. So selling value. I think it's real important that we all, as salespeople, think in those terms. If you go in and sell price, as I'll talk about later, you cannot win that battle. There's always going to be somebody that can undersell you, and you don't want to be considered just a commodity manufacturer to your customer. So when you go to see them, you have to start first by understanding the customer. And when I say do your homework, I mean, if they're not a current customer of yours, look them up on social media, see what they kind of like or don't like, so you kind of get an idea about the person. Check out who they're currently buying from. I mean, obviously that's important because then you can position Hytera in a way to be successful down the line. It's good to know how large they are in the market. Are they a major player? Are they someone that's an up and comer? How long have they been in the market? New, old? That also will affect how they perceive your pitch to them. And obviously very important, are you speaking to the owner or the buyer? It's important to know who the actual, as the Miller Hyman says, the financial buyer is. So that's always important. And as I said again at the bottom, never propose pricing or solutions too early in the conversation. You try to get off on the right foot from a personal standpoint. Establish yourself as a partner, not just a salesperson. And most of the people that you're going to be talking to, especially if they're in more of a management position, they'll be able to read you like you're trying to read them. So you want to make sure that they understand that you do care about their business and you want them to be successful. And you're not just there to hand them a purchase order and say, hey, sign here, will you? And you never disparage or criticize their current solution, because you never know whether that person is the one that actually chose it, or that person is the one that's suffering from it if they took over for somebody else. So there's a lot of sensitivity there if you say anything. And I think that's, most salespeople do know that one of the no-nos in sales is to disparage your competition. So what you're actually there to do is to try to help them solve a problem. Get off on the right foot. As I mentioned earlier, get to know them. Get to know them, that's important, because to me, it's always been important to me as long as I've been in the industry. This is a very relational business. Most are, but this one is even more so because a lot of our customers have been in two-way radio for a long time. So you want to get to know them better, talk about things that might interest them, check out their social media. I'll tell you what a lot of times what I'll do is as I go into their office, if that's the situation you're going to go in, if it isn't like a conference room, I kind of scan the office and see if I can't see something that they kind of like. Maybe there's a hobby, maybe they're just a very big family man kind of person. But those kind of things help. And then you let them talk. I know a lot of times we as salespeople like to take the floor and dominate the conversation. We've got a pitch, we've got to get our pitch in, we only have so much time to get this. That is the wrong approach in a lot of cases. You got to get the customer talking, and as they're talking, give them like some open-ended questions. So how's business going for you? Or who do you see as your major competitor? Just things like that. And then just listen. Let them do the talking, and they'll tell you a lot more about their business and what they're really looking for than you'd ever imagine if you just get them talking. You can always throw in your own information, but like I said, I like to listen more than I speak once I get the conversation going. And again, as I mentioned, you can personalize it. Don't be afraid to tell them a little bit about yourself, because then you're perceived as a person, and again, not just as a vendor. And that's very important, because you don't want to be considered a vendor, because you're going to get short shrift from them. You're not going to get the amount of time, because they're going to think right off the top, oh, he just wanted to sell me something. Selling value with choices. Again, when you're proposing any kind of solution down the line in the conversation, it's always good to offer multiple choices. The old good, better, best is sort of a common credo. Sometimes it's not 3 choices. There may be, for a particular situation, only 2. But this just gives you an idea. And it also gives the customer an idea that they can make a decision that isn't based solely on price. Because again, as I mentioned earlier on, in a lot of cases, the lowest price may very well not be the best option. But if you offer it too soon, what's a typical buyer going to do? They're going to go for the cheaper option. So you want to kind of hold that in abeyance and give them a better choice, range of choices. We that work for Hytera and you that represent Hytera are in a very enviable position, because our DMR solutions are the broadest. We have the broadest product portfolio in the market today. So you never really have to force 1 or 2 products as a solution to your customer. I like to, in fact, I gave a short 5-minute presentation at an EWA conference a couple years ago and talked about that. And we all know who I'm talking about. Some other manufacturers probably have a typical LMR radio, non-display, and another one with full display. 2 choices. Well, with our product line, of course, you can go from the entry level with the BD series to the mid-level PD 4 and 5, and move all the way up to the 6 and 7. You can give them the most comprehensive DMR product line of any manufacturer. And that shows the customer that you're not just trying to wedge whatever your solution is into their situation. You can actually customize something for them. And you can give the strong points of each one and help them decide for their particular situation what is the most important to them. What do they really need? As you qualify them, another key point is, after the getting to know you part, is to find out more again about the company, as I said before. Are they actually expanding? Are they having trouble and they need to improve their current situation? These are all key areas that'll influence the buyer. They may need to add radios and expand their fleet. Is that the case? And then you need to kind of try to find out why are they expanding? Are they adding more vehicles, more employees? That's a great sign, because that shows that the company's flourishing. And are they also going to add radios because the business is expanding, maybe to another location? These, again, are things that you need to be aware of so you can help provide them with the best solution. it's always very important that you find out if the customer actually needs anything. Um, Again, you might waste a sales call if you go in there, they're totally happy, they're not really looking to add anything, and then you waste your time and their time. So you kind of try to find out, is this customer looking to replace the radios? Are they not functioning? Or maybe, in a lot of cases, they might have added some users. They need to just reprogram their talk groups. And if you perceive that, that's what you really need to do. Save your ammo for another presentation when they're going to expand. If you can help them with something like this and just reprogram some of their existing radios, and they don't have to spend anything at that time, they're going to trust you going forward, that you're not in there just to sell them another radio. I want to give you an example here. This is a really interesting one. A couple years back, I had the opportunity to visit Madison Square Garden, and they were using some of our radios already, and they were looking for an opportunity to maybe expand. And as you can see here, they have three different venues just in New York City: Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall, and the Beacon Theater, which is an old established theater from years gone by. There's been several major people have played there, Frank Sinatra, uh, and others. So it's a very iconic place. So when I went there, obviously I was excited first just to see some of their venues. My daughter is well, she's a teacher now. She teaches drama, but she was drama and a singer, and so I took some snapshots at Radio City Music Hall and said, "Hey, I beat you here." So she was pretty excited to see that venue. And these are iconic venues, as I mentioned. So this was important, high profile. And when I got there, I discovered that they had a mixture of radios. Actually, they had some of our Hytera radios, which is why they called. They had some Vertex, and they had some Motorola radios. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. So anyway, I asked them. I said, can we go to each site and actually talk to the people that are using the radios and who's managing it? And so they were very open to that. And so we went on a trek to each one of the venues. And when we got there, what we asked them to do was give me an example of why your current solution is not performing for you. What are the so-called pain points? As we walked around, it was pretty obvious early on that it was a coverage issue more than anything else. And they had, just like I said, a mixture of radios. They had analog radios in a lot of cases. So after we were able to determine that a lot of it was a coverage issue, in this particular case, I was fortunate enough to have a couple of radios with me. I actually brought what they were using in some of their facilities. They were using some BD5s, but I also brought along a PD6. And quickly we got them programmed up to their frequencies, and had each one of the facility users and or managers walk the same area with our radio as opposed to the ones that they were using. And it was, obviously it was eye-opening to them. Suddenly their coverage was completely taken care of. In fact, it was kind of funny. One of the guys was down below, and I was kind of sweating this one, to be honest with you. He went down below and was in a hallway underneath the facility, and the signal was still coming through. We could hear him fine. He went into a room. Said, "This is the room where we lose coverage." I went, "Oh, great, here we go." So he went into the room, and still coming through loud and clear. So at that point I started to relax a little bit. The sweat started to dry up, and then the other salesperson that was with me, kind of, when they came back up, winked, because they were just totally blown away. So after doing that at all three facilities, we were able to provide them with 2 quotes that they were able to look at and figure out that they were in a much better situation to go with Hytera. Interestingly enough, and again, you never disparage the competition, but one of the analog radios they were using was a high-end Moto piece. And as the one guy came back, I said, "Well, what are you using in this facility?" And he showed it to me, and I just kind of laughed and didn't say anything. I said, "Oh," kind of laughed. Well, the key administrator for Madison Square Garden, who was running this thing, looked at me and kind of pulled me outside and go, "What was so funny?" I said, "No," I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Don't tell me. Did they oversell me something?" And I just kind of laughed. I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's actually a public safety radio, and we can do much better and give you all the functionality that you need." So without actually saying anything, that little chuckle really really woke him up to the fact that, hey, maybe that other supplier was taking advantage of him. So that was a very good outcome. Qualifying new customers. Again, if this is a new customer or if it's a cold call, potential customer, back to the beginning, develop a relationship. Make sure that you get to know that person. Again, the last thing you want to do is be seen as just another salesperson going in there. As you walk through the same kind of procedure we talked about earlier, start trying to find out what they're using again. What's your solution doing? That? What does it do well, and what would you like to see it do? Normally they're unhappy or they wouldn't be calling you again. So you got to be careful that you don't knock what they've got, but just try to get an idea again what their actual pain points are. If they're unhappy, like I said, you find out why. What do they want to improve? Again, this is a coverage issue like was at Madison Square Garden Group. Do they called you because they want to expand their current fleet? Do they need better reliability? That was another issue with the Madison Square Garden. They actually had an annual repair budget of everybody sitting down of $90,000 just to repair the radios that they had in service. And he was able to, in the conversation, I was able to get him to relay that information to me, and obviously that made me feel even better about the opportunity to win this because first off, with 3-year warranty, we were going to take that 270,000 out of his budget immediately that he could use to expand his system or just to make him look good, which is really important. Making that guy look good, making your buyer look good, solidifies your position with them. Maybe they're looking for more functionality, and I'll go over that with another one here shortly, an example where they actually were looking for more functionality. All these questions will lead you into the portion of where you find out exactly how you can address their issues. So the new customer and the one I'm talking about before about finding out what their pain points are was a manufacturing company in Houston, and they had 3 different buildings on their campus. And right away, I figured out what part of their pain points were because it was an analog system. And so I went through the same procedure. I said, "Hey, you mind if we go to each one of the offices so I can see exactly what's going on?" And of course, I'm saying to myself to validate the problems, but I'm not saying that to them. Just see how they use it. Hey, can I see how you guys are using the radios? And I gave them, since I was kind of brave after having such success before, I brought along a couple of our radios at the same time that we could use. So on the manufacturing floor, the one building, obviously they had stamping machines, and it was a very noisy environment. And in the office facility, they wanted clearer comms with manufacturing, but also the ability to text with a warehouse facility, which was in the far corner of the campus. And as I mentioned here, the warehouse was in the far corner of the campus. And they were having problems with connectivity, again, because it was an an analog system. So on the manufacturing floor, I had one of the individuals key up the DMR radio, talking to the actual general manager was in the office. He didn't go with us initially on the walk. And of course, the noise canceling characteristics of DMR kicked in, and it was a nice, clear conversation. And I'll never forget this. The guy looked at me and talked to his foreman again, and he didn't believe it. It was funny. He goes, uh, if you don't mind, you stay here. I'm going to go and switch places with with him. So, which he did, and actually, we went through the other with the texting and stuff. But I knew right then and there that this deal was won, because right there, that was such a dramatic demonstration that I had the general manager on the hook immediately. So, and we ended up replacing that system with a DMR system, which solved all the pain points that they'd had. So remember, again, that was a happy ending. And if they're happy, you measure your success by that customer's success. I know that the general manager looked good to ownership because it was working. I know that the operations guy at Madison Square Garden with those facilities looked really good, because not only did he have a, um, a, a solution that was working for the actual end users, they actually demonstrated and they were excited. In fact, the one guy at at the it wasn't at Madison Square Garden, but it was at the theater. He wanted to keep my PD6. Hey, can you just leave this with me? So I said, no, no, no. I said, but we're working with Matthew to come up with a plan for you to replace or supplement all the radios that you have. So those kind of things, you chuckle inside, because you can see right there that it was a success, and saving the money on the warranty side, $270,000, made the buyer, the operations guy, a success. So once you're looking at that when they're looking at you like that as a partner and not just a supplier, you become valuable. I still get emails and texts from the gentleman at Madison Square Garden because of that situation. I told him that obviously I have two boys that played some basketball, so we talked a little bit about that. That goes back into the relational side I was talking about, and he invited me to bring them over and to a game with the Knicks. And I refrain from saying, "Oh, they play basketball." No, but those kind of relationships. I mean, I've kept that relationship and tried to keep a lot of customer relationships, because when they're happy, uh, they're repeat customers. They're going to call you back. They're going to look at you as, like I said, a business partner, not just a vendor, because you help them solve a problem. And isn't it great when they're calling you and you're not sitting there looking at a call list and having to call them? So I hope this helped everyone a little bit, give you a little bit of little tips here and there. I know that most of you are all of you are very successful in what you're doing, and I always try to use any little thing that I might catch from somebody else, because you never know, you might want to tune up your approach a little bit. But I just want you all to know that we at Hytera and the sales team look at you as partners, and we want to do whatever we can to help make you successful. And as I always tell our sales team and those of you who I know personally, you can call, text, email me anytime. I'm always available to try to help out. And I know that our sales team is the same way. We have some really good people that I know you all know individually in your territories. So that about wraps it up. I know it's a Friday, and those of you want to try to get your last calls in and or sneak out early, I'm not going to try to hold you up. I might see, do we have any questions, Mornay, that I can touch on real quickly? If not, and you do have questions, you can individually send them to me via email if you want, or through the webinar. I think there's ways for you to do that too. But do we have anything, Mornay?
No, Tom, I'm not sure if you put them all to sleep, but they're all still here. So, but yeah, there's no questions on our end.
Okay,
Just a
unmute
quick
their mics.
reminder.
Unmute the mic so I can see whether there's any snoring going on. Okay,
I'll get
guys.
right on that. So just a
Okay,
quick
anyway.
reminder, this
Yes.
presentation will be available on the dealer portal in the Hytera use section. So if you guys wanted to listen to it or share it with some of your other employees and staff there that work with you, more than welcome to do that. Please check out us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe. We're posting stuff every week. I think we left it out of Tom's presentation today, but we've had 5 different posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook this week, all different things. Sometimes we'll do the white paper links and things like that, all just things to help you be successful. Like Tom is saying, sold the Hytera value. So
Yes, and
that's it.
on that real quickly, we are doing, as many you know, we're doing a lot of lead generation through our marketing department. So be looking for those leads that your salespeople will be forwarding to you. And hey, maybe you can use some of these little tips that we talked about today to help close another deal. But we are actively generating leads, and they'll be going out to you in the different categories. So be looking for those as well.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend,
everyone.
and we will
Yep.
catch you
Again,
next week.
yes.